The new Gamefield XD cabinet has emotive lighting on the left and right side. The bill validator is on the right side and tickets on the left side. Service and change buttons are on the left side, and the spin button is on the right side. Both are 32-inch LCD screens, and player tracking can be installed in the space in the center of the main door. The game is 6 amps and the top box is 3 amps. The two locks to get into the cabinet are on either side of the cabinet. To open the cabinet, turn the key and push the button. The main door is on the left side. Turn the key in the lock and push the button. Inside the main door is a red lever. Push the red lever to release the LCD hatch. The LCD hatch is still considered part of the main door. To open the footwell, push the lever in the bottom of the cabinet to the right to release the footwell. To open the cash box, turn the key and pull down. Your stacker switch and validator door are located in the same compartment of the cash box. Down on the bottom is your drop door switch. Also located underneath on the left-hand side is the main power plug. Inside the cabinet you will find the emotive lighting control board, the CPU Next 3.2, the bulkhead board, the power supply, and the power distribution board. Located on the left-hand side is the power switch. In order to take out the cash box, you need to open the belly door. And open the bill service door to remove the cash box. First, open the main door. Pull the two pull chains located to the rear of the compartment one at a time to release the top box glass. Close the main door and then slide the top box glass out away from the cabinet. Turn off the top box power and disconnect the cables from the top box glass. There are 4 studs, 2 on each side, that hold the top box glass in place. Lift the top box glass straight up and pull towards you. The front glass weighs 38 pounds, so a 2-man lift is recommended. To reinstall the top box glass, make sure the top LCD is released from the cabinet and has been moved away from the cabinet. Use 2 people to reinstall the top box glass. Align the 4 studs, 2 on each side, into the slots to secure the top box glass. Reconnect the cable and turn the top box power back on. Once you power on the top box, make sure you hear the fans running and see the lights on the communication board flickering. You do not have power to the top box glass until it is pushed back into place and locked in. You can only remove the top LCD screen once the top box glass has been removed. Remove the communication cable, power cable, and DVI cable. Remove the cotter pin from the swing arm. Use the handles on the sides of the LCD unit to lift the unit straight up and pull towards you away from the cabinet. To reinstall the top LCD screen, use 2 people to reinstall the top LCD. Align the 2 posts to the 2 holes on the swing arm. Replace the cotter pin. Reconnect your communication cable, power cable, and DVI cable. Use a Phillips head screwdriver or a 1/4-inch nut driver to remove the 4 screws that hold the lock plate in place. It's the same for both sides. Replace the lock assembly. Replace the lock plate and reinstall the 4 screws to secure the lock plate cover back in place. Open the bill service door. Use a 1/4-inch nut driver to remove the 4 screws. The front plate will come off. Once the front plate is removed, there are 2 screws on each side. Once the screws are removed, slide the lock plate assembly out to replace the lock. Remove the cover from the front of the cabinet by removing the 2 screws on each side of the cover using a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Remove the 4 nuts from the front assembly plate. There is a hole on the right side for all player tracker cable routing. Remove the metal bracket on the left side of the inside of the cabinet. And mount the player tracking SMID board to the metal bracket. Take the assembly with everything connected to it and line it up with the 3 holes on the underside of the LCD hatch. Close the main hatch and reinstall 2 screws on each side of the rubber gasket to secure the rubber gasket into place. Remove the rubber gasket on the front of the hatch by removing the 2 screws on each side. Once that is removed, open the main door and open the hatch. Disconnect the 4 cables, USB cables, communication cable, power cable, and DVI cable from the main LCD screen. Once the cables are disconnected, tuck them out of the way so they are not pinched when you close the hatch. Close the hatch and grab the sides of the LCD screen and lift straight out. The LCD just rests in the tray. To reinstall the main LCD screen, remember that the fans on the LCD unit go towards the top of the screen. Place the LCD screen in the tray and slide it up as far as possible. And gently let the screen down, being careful not to pinch your fingers. Open the hatch and reconnect the DVI cable, power cable, communications cable, and the USB cable. Open the main door. Slide the printer forward. Remove the screws from the unit. Disconnect the power cable and remove the printer. Open the main door. Press the lever and slide the bill validator head and stacker out of the cabinet. Unlock the bill service door and remove the cash box. Disconnect the cables and remove the screws from the back of the unit. There will be either 2 or 4 screws holding the unit in place. Remove the screw from the top plate of the assembly. Lift up the plate and disconnect the cable to get access to your switch. To replace the top plate, you need to line the notch up with the hole. Replace the screw and reconnect your cable. Use a 1/4-inch nut driver to loosen the 2 nuts in the middle of the bill service door switch bracket. The bracket will then slide backwards, giving you access to your switch. Replace the assembly. Replace either the 2 or 4 screws into the back of the assembly to hold it into place. Reconnect the cable. Slide the bill validator head and stacker into place. Slide the cash box into place. Close the bill service door and relock the bill service door lock. Disconnect all cables from the top of the CPU board. Remove the CPU door. Unlatch the CPU on the right side of the unit and lift straight up. Do not grab the unit on the right side where the flash cards are installed. This will damage the unit. Grab on the left side to avoid damaging the CPU. Line up the 4 notches on the back to the 4 holes on the CPU. Push down, but do not push down on the side where the flash cards are installed. Pull down on the latch to secure the CPU in place. Reconnect all of your cables and be sure to connect the correct DVI cables to the correct ports. Reinstall the CPU door and then lock the CPU door. The bulkhead board removes the same way as all other cabinets. Remove the nuts and screws and the entire bracket comes out. To remove the power supply, there is 1 nut and 1 screw on the bottom of the cabinet. Remove the nut and the screw. Remove the protective bracket. Disconnect all of the cables connected to the power supply. Remove the power supply from the cabinet. Remove the bracket from the power supply by removing the 2 nuts and 4 screws from the bracket. Reinstall the power supply into the bracket. place the power supply assembly into the cabinet. Reconnect all of your cables. Replace the protective bracket and reinstall the one nut and one screw on the bottom of the cabinet. Remove the 3 nuts on the bottom with an 11/32 nut driver. Disconnect the cables from the amp and remove the unit. Reconnect the cables. Place the unit in the cabinet and tighten the 3 nuts that hold the unit into place. Disconnect the power cable. Loosen the nuts and lift the unit up and out. Disconnect the communication cable and all Cat 5 cables. It no longer matters where you plug in the Cat 5 cables. Reconnect all Cat 5 cables. Reconnect the communications cable. Place the unit in position and tuck all the cables underneath. Tighten the nuts and then reconnect the power cable. Disconnect all cables from the board. Remove the 3 screws from the board and the board comes out. To replace the buttons, open the hatch and remove the 7 screws from the bottom of the bezel. Remove the cable or cables from the button panel and then remove the 4 screws that hold the button panel in place. To reinstall the button panel, place it into position. Reinstall the 4 screws and reconnect all cables. Replace the bezel and replace all 7 screws that hold the bezel in place.